Now, we are joined, ladies and gentlemen, by a individual that has absolutely been standing up against tyranny. Let's put his website up on screen for folks because it's so important. Matt Bracken's website, enemiesforeignanddomestic.com. And he's written a bunch of novels, so he can say things in novels you can't say in books. And he's been popping in for little 20-minute, 30-minute interviews with us as of late. He was with us right before the election. He's now here with us. Hundreds of buses in Austin, hundreds in Chicago, other areas, paid for by the Democrats. We've confirmed this. Trump's people have said stop it. But meanwhile, the media on 60 Minutes say it's Trump's fault. So Matt Bracken, we've got 66 days till he's in. I wouldn't put it past the globalists who are absolutely on their heels, knowing their psychology to set off a nuke at his inauguration, to start a war in 65 days, 66 days. They're trying to plunge the market, but folks are rushing in and propping it up. The citizens are. It's beautiful. It's such an amazing time to be alive. They're trying to activate civil war. They have all their leaders, from Katy Perry to Hollywood directors, saying it's time for violence, overthrow, kill, 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 kill people that look like Trump, kill blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, and the media is the same media, hasn't learned. They're supporting it and saying it's a good thing. So I'm not an authoritarian, but when foreign outside groups are in your country openly trying to finance the killing of blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, I guess because that's what Trump looks like, and the raping of his wife and all of this, there's got to be some point where we're not intimidated by all their calls calling us authoritarian, and it's time to go ahead and have the grand juries indict these people. I mean, we're in danger. And so they're trying to cause a shooting war. We need to arrest these people.
If we make it to January 20th and Trump is inaugurated, then he can fire all of these corrupt Democrat operatives posing as attorneys general in the DOJ, which he needs to do. I listened very carefully to your interview with Stefan, and that's another thing that they have to do. They have to take the broom to the stables, along with draining the swamp. They've got to broom out the stables and get rid of these corrupt attorneys general and U.S. attorneys. The media obviously is just an integral part of this machine. They're not covering the buses that are, the Soros DNC buses that are bringing in these fake paid protesters. The lady on 60 Minutes, Leslie Stahl, she acted surprised. What do you mean by paid protesters? What could that possibly be? If, as I put it, if the media, American Pravda, the main networks and the main newspapers, if they at this point refuse to cover the busing in of these protesters, then they're part of it. They're just the propaganda arm of this destabilization campaign. The advantage we have now is that we do have new media, Breitbart, Drudge, et cetera, InfoWars, and they're not going to be able to stop that in the next 90 days. But remember now, the Electoral College doesn't vote until December 19th. If Donald Trump's airplane, for example, was taken out, I wrote an essay for InfoWars a couple weeks ago about that, one of my biggest fears. It'd be very, very easy to smuggle a battery pack onto that airplane, just stick it into some cameraman's bag and take down that airplane. If Donald Trump is not alive on December 19th, then Governor Pence does not automatically become president. It goes to the Electoral College and it's a free-for-all. So as part of this completely desperate destabilization campaign, I fear very much for Donald Trump's life in the next month. Along with the airplane, I'm very worried about some lunatic being sent out or instigated by these Kramer-type operatives. I wrote an essay called Professor Raoul X about how easy it is to manipulate people into becoming a weaponized assassin. Very easy to do.
Well, they admit in WikiLeaks they go out and find mentally ill street people, wind them up, give them drugs, money, you name it, and promise them more drugs if they go attack somebody. I mean, they're running really dirty ops.
Right in Bob Kramer's office, kudos to Mr. O'Keefe and Project Veritas. Right over Bob Kramer's shoulder in the office are these very stylistic black and yellow posters that he was so proud of that he had in his office. They are the exact printer, probably the exact printing press that are being passed out at these so-called spontaneous rallies. I've seen these black and yellow posters. These are Bob Kramer, DNC, George Soros posters. And I've got to tell the media, you are putting yourself on the firing line by being willing accomplices of this destabilization.
That's right. They put themselves not just as propagandists. They're engaged in literal collaborator attempt to overthrow the U.S.
They are collaborators.
I mean, if this gets bloody, we're going to win the Civil War. And I'm sorry, they're going to have to be held accountable. They're going to have to go to prison.
As long as they're calling themselves reporters, if ordinary citizens can go out and film 100 buses lined up bringing in protesters and can find the Craigslist ads promising, $15 to $20 an hour to be a professional protester, if 60 Minutes can't find this out, Leslie Stahl, then shame on you for calling yourself a reporter. You're just a stooge. You're just a hack and a stooge. You might as well have a Stasi badge behind your CBS badge. But the other thing that, in my biggest fear, I need to cover this in the time we've got. When I see these crowds protesting, quote unquote, and they're blocking highways, which you mentioned, blocking a highway is not a peaceful protest. Blocking a highway is a violent act.
It's a blockade.
If somebody is on the way to the hospital, if somebody's having a heart attack or about to have a baby, or they're going to get fired because they've been told if they're late again, they're going to be fired.
What if I got to pick my kids up from school? What if I'm going to get somebody in an airplane? I mean, not just people dying. It is a horrible impedance to the general public. You are literally blocking my life.
Well, now I'm gonna go from make a little bit of a jump here, a little mental jump here. At the same time, we're seeing obvious false flags that are just at the propaganda level, with people drawing swastikas and Trump, things like that. Now, no Trump fan is going to draw a swastika. So for the CBS to take these at face value, these instigator false flag propaganda ops, and take them as false flags, when we've seen over the last 20 years, 99.9% of the nooses found on campus or things of that nature.
I was about to say, Matt, I've never seen it where it wasn't a false flag. It almost all.
Right.
When has it not been fake?
So the media is completely in their stooge, accomplice, collaborator mode when they treat these obvious false flag ops as Trump instigate or as Trump-led violence or Trump-led bullying. So here's where we're going to see the jump. When we have a highway blocked, and there's a few thousand people across the freeway, and you see these helicopter shots, or when they're in downtown and you see them from high building angle shots. My first novel actually starts with a shooting into a stadium, that's the first page, a mass shooting into a stadium, completely a false flag op, blamed on right-wing militia types. Well, I think that's something like that is going to happen.
I totally agree. The season is for them to stage something and claim that we're attacking. They're putting these crowds out right now. As you said before the election, they'll put crowds in the speech, out in the streets, have them attacked, and then blame it on us to create this mass guilt. That's why Trump's got to get out ahead of this, saying, you're putting these crowds out there causing violence. It's going to be your fault if something bad happens. Because
I'm very worried that somebody on top of a building, we saw the guy in the Dallas cop shooter was one of these Professor Raoul X types.
Former military.
Well, he was the tool. He was so deranged that he actually traveled to Dallas to do that shooting. So when you get people that aren't even native to that
Same thing happened in Louisiana. So let me expand on that. What is the calculus? Because Hillary had polls saying police are unpopular. Well, the polls are police brutality is unpopular in those particular cases, and there are some bad cops, but it's taken out of context to be projected as a destabilization. Fact, not our opinion. So what is the calculus? He overthrew Ukraine that started in anti-police rallies, so he was successful. Same thing happened in some Middle Eastern countries. But now that it's backfired on them, what is the calculus to run the same, go out and shoot the cop op, when all that did was wake the police up to the New World Order and do our job for us?
I don't think it's going to be shoot the cop next time. I think that some deranged left-winger is going to do a false flag op.
No. I agree that's going on, but they're still pushing attack the police narratives. I'm saying, what was the thought to do that?
Anarchy, just to make the police at the same time more twitchy about being shot and more afraid to draw their weapon. So they just want to put the cops into a bunker mentality. They want to put the cops into a bunker mentality so the communists take over the streets. Correct. But the big operation that I see as almost inevitable is going to be somebody on a highway overpass or from a tall building downtown is going to shoot into one of these left-wing protest
UT
groups.
Tower style.
It's going to be, and you can't miss. I mean, when you've got just a mob of people, you don't have to aim. You could practically close your eyes and just dump a magazine or two. Throw the rifle over the side of the parking garage and then be on your way. Of course, it'll be, leave a little bit of right-wing literature, something like that. But it's going to be blamed no matter how obvious.
Oh, they're going to leave Trump literature, InfoWars literature, and Nazi literature. You can see it now.
Right. And no matter how patently obvious the false flag is, the American Pravda collaborator media will play it completely straight. They've got their Stasi badge behind their CBS badge, like we saw in 60 Minutes, absolutely going after.
So how do we counter that? Let folks know that's the next move. So if it happens, we have cameras on the ground that instantly start filming. And that's one thing that's held them up doing clear false flags, is because they know we've got eyes and ears everywhere. But
it's going to be too tempting from a distant highway overpass or from a building, a downtown building at a demonstration. It's just going to be too tempting. Remember, both the left and certain Islamic groups very famously are willing to drop mortar rounds onto their own people if they can blame it on the enemy.
Well, that's right. The Wahhabists are very famous in Syria doing false flags, even nerve gassing a mixed Sunni Shiite area. They got caught to, quote, try to trigger the crossing of the red line.
And they even, for that matter, they don't even think that they're hurting the people that they kill, because in their warped minds, the people that they kill are going to go to heaven as martyrs anyway. So you're just doing them a favor, getting them off of their earthly troubles a little bit early, sending them to paradise ahead of schedule. So the left is the same way. They'll absolutely be willing to spray a couple magazines, just straight into a protest group, blame it on right-wingers. It'll be some AK-47 or AR-15. Right-wing literature.
Oh, yeah, it'll be a Bushmaster. It'll be a Bushmaster, the very company they're suing. So how do we counter this? And what are some of the other false flags?
Getting out ahead of it right here. Just letting them know that we won't buy it. That even if they, inside of their left-wing media echo chamber, their little like facing mirror walls, they're just, everywhere they look, they see each other smiling back. That's why they couldn't understand how Trump could win. They were inside of such a bubble. Well, we need to let them know that, folks, your bubble is over. The new media kicked your ass last Tuesday. The new media just slapped you up and down. Sure.
That's my next question. What are they thinking in the boardrooms? Because they really thought she was going to win, even if she had to steal it. Their steal failed. It was such a tsunami. That's got to let them know that, again, they don't have air superiority in the media. It's very dangerous for them to pull a false flag when no one's going to buy it.
But the problem now is they've unleashed a dragon. It's not that so much that I'm concerned that some Bob Kramer type that we don't know yet, who's in the Department of even dirtier wet ops, that's going to actually wind up some little automaton and send him out. They're sending the automatons out with the media message that Trump is Hitler, Trump is leading to World War III. The obvious conclusion to a weak mind is, if we want to avoid Hitler and World War III, somebody has to kill Trump.
And their message is everywhere. By CNN, by Time Magazine, by Newsweek, by the New York Times, by the LA Times, by Hollywood directors: kill Trump, kill a supporter, civil war, Katy Perry, kill, civil war, murder, revolution. I mean, this is, if I was saying, because it's not free speech, folks, when you say kill, murder, civil war. It's a call to sedition against an elected government. I mean, folks, I mean, Trump needs to start coming out and telling Katy Perry and people, you're going to be held accountable, little lady.
Yes, and remember that one lunatic came all the way from England, tried to steal a cop's pistol just to take a shot at Trump at a rally a couple months ago. Yeah, so we're all congratulating
ourselves right now. But Matt Bracken, that's what I've been saying day one. We can't be too euphoric, because they're not going to let us take Western civilization back without fighting.
No, they won't. And the drone army is already unleashed. When you've got people holding up rape Melania signs, and then they broadcast that on national news with a little tisk, but they're telling all of their loose cannons, their addle-brained, potential future assassins, they're telling them, you will be a hero to at least half of the country if you sacrifice yourself for the greater cause of killing Donald Trump. It's either going to be a bomb on the airplane, It's going to be somebody getting lucky with a pistol up close. And I know the Secret Service is absolutely on their toes, but they can't be perfect. I mean, they need to be, but they can't be. But my bigger fear, because let's face it, the Secret Service, at least nobody's going to get a rifle within, 1,000 yards of the president. Not likely, very difficult. But it is so easy now for somebody to go up in a parking garage, dump a magazine or 2 or 3 down into a crowd, throw the rifle over, leave some Trump literature, and then run away. Hit the elevator, you're off in a car. By the time that the smoke clears, the bodies are collected, the next morning, or actually from that minute on, mainstream media, American Pravda, is going to be calling it a Trump, militia massacre. Absolutely. That's my biggest fear. That's going to happen probably in the next 3 months, something like that.
Well, these people are out of their minds because we just beat them in this election. We're going to beat them in this. If they're dumb enough to do this, it may accelerate their downfall, Matt. I should have you back soon to talk about what do we do in the aftermath of them pulling this.
So just remember, he has to be elected by the Electoral College. Doesn't happen until December 19th. If he's not alive to take the election on December 19th, it goes to the Electoral College. It's a free-for-all.
Sure. Won't that blow up in their face, though, and make him a martyr?
I think so, but I think that at this point they're desperate, like cornered rats and weasels. They're very desperate.
I agree, Matt Bracken, and they're so delusional is the problem.
Desperate and delusional.
Yeah,
dangerous.
That's a dangerous. I was about to say dangerous combination. Matt Bracken, enemiesforeignanddomestic.com. Thank you so much. Please come back on again.